Space Zombies is back. We're excited to announce that there will be 2 brand new maps available at launch.
Hi guys, Mr. Awfuls here. I'm so excited for this. We're about to watch the Black Ops 6 Zombies Liberty Falls cinematic for the first time ever.
I've always known in the back of my head that Call of Duty Zombies is on the way back. We've been waiting so long for Treyarch to just get back on the reins with making round-based zombies.
This is a first-time reaction to the Black Ops 6 Zombies trailer.
What the fuck? Richmond in the cinematic?
Call of Duty Black Ops 6 Zombies. Hoorah!
Did he turn into that? Oh, shit!
You'd expect after 4 years of development that you'd get a better game.
Okay, I'm just gonna get straight into this. Liberty Falls, overall, in my opinion, looks like complete ass.
It doesn't look good, bro. I'm sorry. I'm just gonna say right now, this doesn't look fucking good.
Why Liberty Falls as a map is fucking mid as all hell.
4 years of development with thousands of developers, a soulless, far too easy copy and paste of bland assets.
Hello everyone, WhiteCliff here. Welcome back to another video. Today I am back, and today we are talking about the positives and the negatives about Black Ops 6 Zombies. Of course, I am not obviously doing this on my own. If any of you have seen my tweet, I am joined by special guest WhiteCliff. Say hello, man. How are you doing?
Hello, I'm doing very well today. How are you, Clarky?
I'm doing well, man. I'm doing well. You know, it's dark times for the community as of right now, but you know, we gotta talk about the truth when it comes to Black Ops 6, and you know, try and spread as much positivity as possible.
I think I can do that. Yeah, I'm feeling good about a lot of things, so I think I can contribute there for sure.
Awesome. So what me and WhiteCliff are going to talk about, we're going to go down in each of these sections. We're going to talk about the positives and negatives about Terminus, Liberty Falls, the game mechanics that we know of so far. We'll be reading some of your guys' replies that I posted on Twitter, talking about your guys' thoughts on Black Ops 6 as a whole, both positive and negative. And then at the end, we'll talk about our thoughts on if Black Ops 6 will succeed alone as a zombies game. But aside from that, that's really all we'll talk about. You're the special guest, man. I'll let you talk first on, you know, the first positive that you have about Black Ops 6 Zombies Terminus.
Okay, so yeah, I have a lot of thoughts. A lot of my thoughts are more bigger game mechanics, so I'm gonna have a lot of stuff to talk about in the third section. But okay. Terminus specifically, I think one of the things that I really liked in the gameplay that they put out was the environment is very dynamic. There's a lot of different spaces. There's like the prison, and then there's the underground bunker, there's the island that's totally natural, just trees, there's the boat. I think it's gonna feel very good to kind of just navigate this space and be able to walk around and feel like you know where you are. You have a sense of place. The map doesn't just feel like one big blob.
Yeah, I 100% agree on basically with everything you said. And one of the things that Kevin Drew and the staff at Treyarch mentioned is that it is most likely the biggest map ever in Zombies history, along with the most side quests on a map ever, which is crazy to think, because I'm pretty sure the last map with the amount of side quests wasn't even from Cold War Vanguard. I definitely think it, want to say it probably was Shadows of Evil, because I know you had the upgraded little Arnie's, I know you had, you know, the free Gobblegum and stuff like that, where you throw your Widow's Wine grenades and the Lion's Mouse and stuff like that. Like, I'm pretty sure there's a lot of side quests in that map, and you know, I'm not one for doing side quests, but I'm pretty sure in terms of just launch maps specifically, that was the map that we last got with the most side quests in terms of launch maps. But that's just me. And then of course we're getting the Kraken. You know, I've been asking for a Kraken boss fight, you know, for some sort of, well, I'm not saying that is the boss fight, but you know, that tentacle, man, you know, that's telling me something.
I think it's got it. I think you've got it. You got to be right there,
it's telling me something different, you know. And I know we get like a glimpse of the Kraken if you do the free Kraken, you know, Wonder Weapon Easter egg and Void of Despair. But like as a boss fight though, That shit's gonna be different. You know, I'm really excited for that. I've always been wanting that, especially when Voyage of Despair was announced. I was like, they gotta do a Kraken boss fight. They gotta do it. And granted, you know, Voyage of Despair, personally, in my opinion, is one of the best boss fights ever we've had in zombies. Even though we didn't get a Kraken one, it was still a good one. But still, I was hoping for it. And then like 6 years, 7, 8 years, God knows how many years down the line, we finally got one. So there's that. But like you mentioned earlier, of course, there is a lot to do around the map. There's a lot of driving to do in the map, especially on the raft. So of course, like, you can drive your way into the underground, you know, laboratory area underneath the prison. Then you can go out to the different islands, and then you've got like the big massive boat that you can go to. And I know that's where Wonder Fizz is, and I know Treyarch is trying to make it so the Wonder Fizz, especially with how the Wonder Fizz works in this Warzone era of zombies, as people call it, is very easy. Like, you don't even really go to the other perk machines if you could just go to the one perk machine and get every single perk yourself. So, you know, I think that's really cool because, you know, we've had driving in zombies, you know, with Modern Warfare zombies, Outbreak, stuff like that, but to actually see it in a round-based map, going to these like different little islands and then the big boat, and then of course you can go back to the main map by going, you know, into the laboratories underneath the prison. I think stuff like that is really cool. Instead of just, you know, driving around the map to just pick up this or that, no, it's like you're going to like these new areas that, you know, you could probably swim to them, but I know every time you're in the raft, or at least in the water, the Kraken will appear and actually start to chase you down. So I'm just saying, don't swim. Do not swim. You gotta take 100%. That raft. But
yeah, I think that's my favorite thing, because in Outbreak I had a problem with the idea that like you can drive around, but a lot of the map feels very empty and it doesn't always feel like you're going somewhere. But like exactly like you said, like in this you're gonna have a very specific destination that feels very unique. And when you're getting there, again, yeah, that Kraken's there, so it's going to be dangerous to actually even get
there's some
there.
risk.
So, yeah, 100% agree.
There's some risk towards it, which I really like. Like, you're kept on edge when it comes to, you know, going to these different areas. So you got to be quick, and, you know, my driving skills are shit. I've already got 3 points on my license in real life, so it's like I better make sure, like, you know, my driving skills in zombies are at least good.
Yeah, your driving skills are awful, Clark at zombies.
Clarky, wait! Clarky, wait!
Clarky. Oh. We're gonna fail.
Clarky.
Failed. Oh,
Clarky.
No.
What did you do?
Aside from that, that's really all my positives about Terminus. Any negatives that you might have for Terminus, good sir, Mr. WhiteCliff?
My negatives are mostly about game-wide mechanics, which we'll get to. So yeah, Terminus, I have nothing specifically to say.
I agree, yeah. There was one thing that I wrote down, but I speak on the behalf of community. The spiders. For anyone who has arachnophobia, I'm sorry. I know
they did say they're gonna add arachnophobia modes. They're gonna replace them with something. I don't know what it's gonna be.
But I remember one of my good friends, Caleb. The moment he saw spiders, he was like, "Fuck!" Like, dude, it's wild. But you know, aside from that, you know, it's interesting how they're gonna do the evolution zombies. You know, zombies can evolutionize, you know, on their own.
Yeah.
You know, from just spiders, and then eventually, if you don't kill them quick enough, it'll go into flies, and then potentially like a big boss. But I really don't know how that's going to work. I want to say I'm leaning that more to the negative side, but it's more of a worry in a sense. Like, how long does it take for them to evolve, or does the time change? What if you just trained all the zombies for a whole 3-5 minutes just for them all to turn into like big boss zombies like we've seen in Terminus? Like, I don't know how exactly the evolutionized zombies is going to work, but I just hope it doesn't impact the main game as a whole. But that's just me personally. That's more of a worry than a negative, but that's just me.
That's fair. Yeah, no, I'd like you phrasing it as a worry instead of a negative. I think there's a way to do that wrong for sure, but I'm excited about it because I think the gameplay they're trying to promote with Cold War and then this is like they're trying to kind of go away from training in the way that you used to do it in Black Ops 3 and before. They're trying to make sure that you're more of an action hero. You're like killing zombies as soon as you see them with all the different tools available. So I think for the kind of gameplay that they want to promote, I think the evolution kind of makes sense for what they're doing. I am excited to see how they work for sure.
It's a cool idea. I definitely agree. The execution just needs to be right because it could go either way. Going on to, as the community likes to call it, Liberty Falls. My positives about Liberty Falls is that, you know, this is more gameplay mechanics wise, but Liberty Falls showcased this, and I think this is an immediate W in my opinion. The Liberty Falls church area, as you know, that's the only Dark Aether area within the map as we know as of right now. But compared to that of Cold Cold War, Vanguard, and Modern Warfare Zombies, you know, every time you went into the teleporters, you would always have like an animation screen, you know, of like this purple like glow. That to me didn't really matter, but you know, it would be cool if you could just walk in and then boom, you're in there. And Liberty Falls actually delivered, like, you're not getting like an in-game animation, you know, because I know, depending on the consoles you are on, especially last gen, because I know this game supports last gen. Like, could you imagine going through those portals just to wait like a good 2 minutes just to get teleported to another area? Like, that's enough. So I'm glad Liberty Falls definitely showed and promoted off saying, hey, instead of getting this like in-game animation of you going into the Dark Ether, no, you just walk in and then you're there. Like, there's no in-game animation, it's not like a little cutscene, you know, you're just there. I was really happy with that. The other thing as well is that it's a different tone compared to any other maps. Like, we don't see a lot of like daytime maps. This is very different, and I think a lot of people can agree with me. Liberty Falls is really, really different. I'm going with the fact that, you know, and hey, I'm not American here, I'll hold my hands up high, but you know, for the amount of times I've been to America, it's like, it's a great tone. You know, it's a small town in West Virginia, you know, there's, as far as I'm aware, you see the American flags up like really everywhere, like a really heavy Americanized town, if you get what I mean by that. And you know, the tone sits it right. Of course, I know how people feel about, you know, it feels dull, it feels like Warzone, but to me, we haven't seen, you know, a map like Liberty Falls in terms of like the tone and the way it looks. It's unique, but I see what people are trying to say. People are saying, you know, the saturation's too low, or you know, there's not anything zombified wise. The only thing I'd say that's really, you know, zombies-esque feel in the map is really like the inside areas where, like, you know, the comic book store. This is actually another positive that I can put in here. The new trap, I thought this was cool, especially with, you know, it gave me some heavy Infinite Warfare Zombies vibes. The superhero trap, Etherealia,
yes,
I think that is one of the coolest traps we've ever seen in zombies, and I'm really glad again they're bringing in this unique, this dedicated to zombies. I thought that was really, really cool. The Liberty Lanes, the bowling alley, that was giving me more of like a town, you know, remastered custom map style, because in turn remastered on Black Ops 3 Customs, you can actually go into the bowling alley, and that's the vibes I was getting there. And of course you see like Mr. Peaks on the wall, stuff like that. Like, it was really cool. So all the inside areas, I'm getting more of a zombies feel, but outside it's just like, you know, I see where people are coming from, I definitely get it, but I like the tone and set that they're going for Liberty Falls. And of course the big one, the jet gun being back, being good and looking good. There's not much more I can say. That jet gun might be one of the best weapons of all time for all we know, specifically Black Ops 6. We don't talk about the chance at one.
Just cut that out of context. Jet gun might be one of the best wonder weapons of all time.
That is my positives anyway about Liberty Falls. What about you, Mr. WhiteCliff, sir?
The vibe as a theory is a really good idea. Like the idea of a town that is like more normal being overrun by these zombies. It's kind of like what they were doing with like the Victus crew. Like, instead of this weird like Group 935 stuff, they were going into like actual like more Walking Dead classic zombie stuff.
Modernized
like,
places, yeah.
And I think that's really interesting. And when you were talking about daytime, the first thing that came to mind for me was Die Rise. Obviously it is like the atmosphere is broken, but it is bright outside, and you're in this very like urban environment that's like an actual place where people work. Looking at the gameplay, I do wish they went further. I agree with the community's criticisms about saturation, about like the open space, about how it doesn't feel very cartoony in a lot of places like it does in, for example, the bowling alley. I agree. And the comic store again is a very zombies environment. I think I completely agree with you there. I do, and I agree that they should have gone further, but in theory it is a good idea, and I trust Treyarch to kind of have some interesting ideas there. On that point, one of my and other positives is that from the blog post, I don't know if we really saw this in the gameplay, they have some kind of other unique traps besides Aetherella. They said that you can rig the cars that are on the street to explode, which is a really interesting way to use the space. For me, like, you're in the city, like there are cars around, and so it's interesting to me to be able to have that opportunity to have a one-use trap that you have to think about when to use. You have to use it at the right time and perfectly time it when a horde's coming by. I think that kind of stuff, I think they can use the city environment in an interesting way if there's enough interesting interactions like that, for sure.
Do you have any negatives, good sir?
The saturation is a bit low just out in the street. Yeah, I agree that the art direction in a lot of places does feel very Warzone-y, very Infinity Ward-y. I don't disagree with that. And my other criticism that I actually didn't really have a problem with in Terminus, so it's interesting that this is something they only did on this one map, is it's very open. Like, there's a lot of open spaces, and we'll have to see if that's a bad thing. Maybe the zombie behavior is designed in a way that they're more aggressive and they can hit you from further away, so it's not as big of a deal. But to me, zombies is always about like choke points and funnels and putting you in tight hallways. So we'll have to see how the zombie behavior interacts with that for sure. But I think that it's interesting that like streets are like 4 lanes wide, and you like even the church. If you compare it to the buried church had all the pews like in place, and you could only walk down the very middle lane and then go across the top. In Liberty Falls, there's nothing in them. There's like one piece of debris in the entire church, and the whole rest of the thing is open from Pack-a-Punch all the way to the door. Yeah, I don't know. I think that that's going to be hard to put pressure on the player if that's how the map is designed overall.
When you're talking about, you know, pressure on the player there, difficulty on that map specifically, I don't know, but a lot of people were getting to around 50 pretty quickly on that map, and which makes me wonder, they were only really shown like 30-40 minutes of gameplay, and within that 40 minutes a lot of people got to around 50 like pretty quickly. People are already breaking speedrun records and the game's not even officially out yet. My negatives about Liberty Falls, right, and I'm actually, as of the time I'm recording this, I'm actually going to upload a video on this, is how easy it is to get to the Wonder Fizz. Now I fucking hate how the Wonder Fizz works for in this Cold War Zombies era. Now Treyarch are trying to make it better, but not in the way that I personally like it, but at least they're trying. You know, if anyone doesn't know the Wonder Fizz within Cold War, instead of, you know, just wondering, you know, what perk you're going to get, no, you could just pick, you could choose which one you get just on the one machine, and that takes away the wonderness from the Wonder Fizz. It shouldn't really be called the Wonder Fizz if that's the case, and that really annoys me in my opinion. The mechanic itself, it isn't a bad thing, but you know, Treyarch are designed to put the Wonder Fizz in areas in Black Ops 6 Zombies maps, and like really hard areas. Like, it's hard to get to the Wonder Fizz, and for Terminus, like in the big boat area, Kevin Drew said the Wonder Fizz is going to be there, and it's going to be very difficult to get there. Now honestly, I'm going to have to agree with him, because when we saw gameplay of Terminus, a lot of zombies were already there, like waiting just to defend like the Wonder Fizz, and I was like, okay, that's a step in the right direction, but what about the mechanic itself? The mechanic is still the same, unfortunately, and you know, I really just wish, you know, maybe it's like a reward or something like after you complete the Easter egg, because I know you have gobblegums now, you know, you're taking away that feel, the use of the other perk machines. It's like, what's the point of having all the other perk machines if you could just go up to the one perk machine and just buy all the perks from there? It's like, that in itself is also annoying in my opinion, but I don't get it. You know, for anyone who likes that system, that's okay. I don't mind the mechanic itself as well. It's just, it takes away, you know, the point of all the perk machines. You know, it shouldn't be called the Wonder Fizz. There's no wonder to it. It's the Wonder Fizz is the mystery box for perks. This isn't. My other negatives about Liberty Falls is there's no new enemy types. Now I get it, the only thing that we have for Liberty Falls is the Abomination. The Abomination is the only, you know, it's only on Liberty Falls, it's not on Terminus. The problem is that it's a boss that we've seen in both Modern Warfare Zombies and Cold War Zombies, so that in itself is quite annoying. But you know, if it's just going to be on one map, I don't mind. And you know, it's weird to see that the Vermin is there. I don't know how that's going to work. Is the Flies going to be in there? Like, is like the big like mangled zombie boss going to be there as well? The whole no new enemy types thing to me is just whatever. But this is the one thing I really didn't like about World War II Zombies, is that in the final Reich, of course, you had the Whistling Zombie. He was in there. He was like the main mini boss of, you know, World War II Zombies. And then of course you had like the Flamethrowing Zombie. The Flamethrowing Zombie is in World War II Darkest Shore, and so is the Whistling, and then of course you got a new boss on top of that. So like, I'm glad they were bringing in, you know, new bosses with each map, but then it's like every new boss they add, they take all the bosses from the final Reich, put them in the new map, and then bring a new boss in that new map. It kind of loses the feel of it, and that alone is just way too much in my opinion. And you know, the Manglers, you know, they're easy to defeat. The Manglers I'm really not mad about, especially with the mutant injection, you know, that's cool, so I kind of don't really mind, you know, the Mangler stuff, especially how you can grab the cannon itself. So
the cannon, yes, yeah,
I'm not really bothered, because the Manglers actually really have a purpose for the whole game itself. It would just be nice, and I really hope they don't go down the route of World War II, basically adding in new bosses each map, but bringing in the old bosses from every old map previously into the new ones as well. Like, to me, that's just not unique, and that's just, you know, well, the only unique part is if they did add new zombies, but then of course it's like, it becomes too much in my opinion. But that's just me. The other thing as well is that there's vermin rounds. Like, I get it, you know, I understand the fact that, like, if that's like the dog rounds, like there's no hellhounds. There's nothing from what we've seen for hellhounds on Black Ops 6 as a whole. It'll be interesting to see how that works out. So vermin, I don't know. It looks like something that would just specifically suit Terminus. So seeing that in Liberty Falls just feels like whatever. But in Terminus, when I saw it, I was like, that's really cool. But then in Liberty Falls, I don't have that same feeling because it doesn't feel right on that map. They could have literally done Shadows of Evil. The max armor rounds on that map is just the flies and the meatballs. They could have done the same for Liberty Falls. Well, not the exact same bosses, but you know, something completely different anyway. To me, that was just a bit disappointing.
100%. Yeah, I think that when the vermin were revealed on Terminus, it made perfect sense, and they like fit so perfectly into the evolution that they're talking about on that map. And the fact that we haven't seen parasites on Liberty Falls, like maybe the evolution isn't even there, so they seem like, honestly, I would have been happier with dogs almost. Like, I feel like that would have made more sense, even if they just did dogs again.
It would have suited that map more, especially with, like, again, going back to how that map is going to feel and the tone of that map. Like, dogs would just suit that map more, but seeing spiders, I'm just like, why are they even there, man? We're not in bloody Australia where there's tarantulas everywhere going on. But now we're going to get into, like, you know, the main talk, which is the game mechanics. My positive, augments. That is great. Now, I'm going to talk about Cold War here, because Cold War was like the first ever game, at least I'm pretty sure, for not to like side quests in BO3, you know, upgraded perks and stuff, and you know, like upgraded like specialists. It was a cool idea. My only problem was that, you know, of course in Black Ops 4, you know, you're spawning with a specialist, you're spawning with so much stuff, and I know a lot of people weren't a fan of that, myself included, but I didn't mind it. But whereas in this, you know, they took some of that stuff away. Of course, they didn't give us specialist weapons, they gave us specialist abilities like World War II zombies, which, you know, in that case I was alright with. But then of course you can upgrade them, but the moment you've upgraded them to tier 5, it's tier 5 permanently. And you know, I wasn't really a fan of that per se. You know, it just makes you feel already OP, and then on top of that, the super Easter egg reward giving you like an epic rarity of the weapon you spawn in with. I don't know, that it just felt too OP for me in my opinion. Vanguard actually done it better. Of course not in the way that I'd put it, but you know, you're always starting from tier 1 for all the perks and all the specialist abilities that you're using in that game. You have to use the hearts for the specialist abilities, which I think how it worked in that game was actually alright. Not perfect, but you know, actually okay. But in terms of the perks, my only problem with it was that it was points, and the point price just kept stacking and stacking and stacking. Like, of course, the first one's free, that's alright. Then the second one is 2,500, and tier 3 is 5,000, and then the fourth one is 7,500 points. It was wild to me, and I get, you know, for Dawnfall and Terminal Addictive, specifically those two maps, it makes more sense to have that kind of system based on points, because, you know, every round you go through, especially the outbreak rounds on Vanguard Zombies, every time you finish those objectives, you're getting a shit ton of points, both from the zombies and the objective itself. Like, the first one's 1,000, the next one's 2,000, maybe the next one's like 2,500, then after that's 5,000. Like, you're getting a lot more points every time you do an objective round. In that sense, it works, but when it comes to shooting them reborn in the Archon, you're just basing it off of zombies as a whole, and I just think that's way too much points. I feel like it should have been a different currency, in my opinion, kind of like how it was for the specialist weapon with the hearts. You're getting the hearts every 3 rounds, so I thought the specialist was done better than it was, you know, the perks on Vanguard. But Vanguard, again, step in the right direction. I didn't mind spawning in with tier 5 already with Cold War, and you know, I like Cold War more than bloody Vanguard, but you know, it just, Vanguard had the little things that done better than Cold War, which, you know, is a wild statement to fucking say, but that's just me, boys, alright? That's just me.
Yeah, you might get in trouble with like your comments for saying that, but I 100% agree. I've said this since Vanguard came out. I think that I don't love Vanguard, but I think it did a lot of stuff well, and there's a lot of good stuff to take from it, kind of improve on it in future games. The perks were one thing that I totally agree with. I think that the perks, like upgrading them in game, is perfect. The one thing I would change is, instead of just stat increases, like the way Jug goes 50, 100, 150 extra points every time you buy another tier of Jug in Vanguard, I think that if you had that system but with Cold War improvements, whatever the 5 Cold War crystal upgrades were, those were the 5 tiers of Jug in game. Like, as long as there were more interesting upgrades in game instead of just raw stat improvements, the Vanguard system is perfect. I think Vanguard did it well, but speaking of Black Ops 6, I think augments are another very cool way to do it. It is like the Cold War system, but it's also kind of like the BO4 system, where you set certain things out of the match but then play them in the game. It's an improvement on that system, because my problem with the Black Ops 4 system was you had to do a lot of reading out of game to set yourself up to have a good game. Like, if you get Winter's Wail in the spawn room of Voyage of Despair, that's a very different experience than getting stamina. Setting your perks was very important, but in Black Ops 6, like, you'll always have the basic perks in the same location. You just also get that customization of being able to put an additional augment on top of it. So they're giving you a default and not making you like understand the entire game before playing it for the first time, but you're also getting the chance to kind of customize and do very unique things, and I'm sure there's going to be some cool stuff that augments can like interact with each other and do cool things. Yeah, I think this is augments are fantastic. I have no problems with this system at all.
It's a great way in the set direction, and you know, it's somewhat of a different currency as well, and I'm pretty sure in Pete's video he mentioned how there's like 100 different augments. Like, I don't know if that'll be a good thing, like having so many augments or not, but you know, it's good to know that there's a lot of variety to choose from, because I know Juggernog, one of the rarities, is actually Dying Wish from Black Ops 4. So it's good to know that we're getting some past abilities that were really, really good from older games. And then of course we're getting like new ones as well. So that's really cool. So I'm glad we're getting a lot of variety, but I don't know if us having so many to choose from can bring an issue. Like, I don't know if that will bring an issue or not. Like, are we getting like 100 minor augments? Are we getting 100 major augments? Like, that's 200 in total. Like, are we going to have to read through all of those augments?
So the thing is, I think what they said is each item, like each perk, each specialist, each individual one always has 3 major augments and 3 minor. So it's not gonna, like, if you look just at Juggernog, you're not gonna see a big list of 100. You're gonna see 6 things to choose from, which I think can make it easier, and also you unlock them over time, so it's not like you have to look at them all before your very first game. So I think it's gonna be presented to the player in a bit more of a digestible way, but also 100% agree that like it can get overwhelming if you have to make so many choices. So we'll have to see how it goes, and I hope that they're balanced well, so there's not just one like objectively good choice. Like, I hope Dying Wish isn't what everyone runs on Juggernog. I hope there's stuff that can compete with it. I do think that it has promise, and I believe they can do it right.
Again, I definitely think augments is a new, unique way in the right direction. Something that I don't think any of us would have thought of, especially in the terms of we don't want to upgrade our stuff outside of the game and then it's permanently just on that upgrade. No, we want to upgrade it in-game. Like, augments is something that I think no one would ever thought of, so I'm liking it from what I hear. But my next positive, this is somewhat similar to my positive on the Liberty Falls Dark Ether thing I mentioned. There's no in-game menu for Pack Punch. Now, I know some people were, you know, complaining that we don't get the animation of, you know, like cracking your knuckles, all that stuff, you know. It's that unique feel, but, you know, I'm glad, fuck, Modern Warfare Zombies done this as well. I'm glad there's just no in-game menu. Like, that just took away, you know, I didn't really mind in Cold War or in Vanguard, but you know, it just kind of took that feel away. You know, it's not, it was zombies, yes, but it was just something that just really wasn't necessary at all, especially when, like, you know, you're opening an in-game menu, you're trying to select your pack punch and zombies could be behind you. In this, you could just press square, it's instantly upgrading, you could just run around and stuff now. So I'm glad, but you know, having like, you know, the cracking knuckles animation, shit like that would have been cool, but the fact that's not in there, it's whatever to me. But I'm glad there's no in-game menu. Of course, I know you have that for, of course, your rarities and of course your ammo mods, but I'll get to that in a second. But aside from that, that's what I'd say. And then of course, it's that the fact that you can change the HUD around. You know, I know a lot of people has been talking about the HUD since Cold War. At least you can customize it. At least they're giving you presets, especially presets that are dedicated to zombies. Even though the Black Ops 3 one, in my opinion, doesn't look like Black Ops 3, at least they're trying to, you know, go back to different HUDs that, you know, players may like. And I saw a tweet, a couple of people saying this under Gaming Revolution's tweet actually yesterday, saying we should honestly get HUD presets from other games. You know, like, of course we got the Black Ops 3 Legacy one, give us a World at War HUD, give us a Black Ops 1 HUD, give us a Black Ops 2 HUD, stuff like that for zombies. I genuinely think, I'm not a game developer here, so I don't know like how hard it is to, you know, implement these things, but you know, I definitely think stuff like that would maybe be quite easy to add in. You know, it really all depends. I don't think it is though, because the Black Ops 3 Legacy HUD, it doesn't scream Black Ops 3 for me. You know, like the perk icons are too small, you know, the round count, granted, is at the bottom left and it was the same for Black Ops 3, just something about it seems about out of place. Of course, we've got our Warzone icons from Modern Warfare Zombies, you know, the player icons. I'm not a big fan of that. The specialist is in the bottom middle of the screen, which that's something else I don't really understand. That's giving me more of a Black Ops 4 multiplayer-esque type vibe there, when it should be on like the far right, along with your ammo, your lethal, your tactical grenade, and of course like the name of your weapon, your ammo count. And it surprised me because the default HUD does that, but the Black Ops 3 Legacy HUD doesn't, so I don't really understand it there. And the Gobblegums, you know, they look fine, so I don't really have a problem with that. Aside from that, I think that would be definitely a cool idea, but that's really the positives I have for the game mechanics anyway. There wasn't a lot that I could have thought of, but those were like the major 3 that I just thought of in my mind there, but that's just me.
I think I agree with you mostly on the HUD. Codename Pizza was on a podcast a couple days ago, and he was saying that like the most cynical thing he could think they might do is like sell bundles with new HUD presets. Like if they had the Zetsubo no Shima bundle, and you
Oh.
could like a BO3 HUD and the Zetsubo like Pack-a-Punch camo.
No.
I don't think they're gonna do that, but I do think there is an opportunity there for them to like for free add presets in after launch based on community feedback. So I think that even though I haven't loved any of the HUDs so far, I don't think like it's game over. I think that maybe there's stuff in the game we haven't seen that's cool, and maybe they can add more stuff. So I do agree the HUD isn't perfect, but I think that there's some room to improve there. There is just so much information you have to show the player that like the HUD can't be like a World at War HUD. Like you need to have ammo plates, you need to have your salvage listed. Like there is information that has to be on there. So unfortunately, we can't go back to like the most basic HUD of all time.
Oh yeah, like you've got to have the necessary stuff. That's the stuff I was talking about yesterday.
Yeah.
Like, you've got to have necessary stuff on there, but like, you know, there's stuff that some people might not want on there. Like I was saying, like, you know, the mini map, personally me, I wouldn't want it on there, but it has its uses. You know, if you do want to find something, the mini map can help you. Or, you know, it's happened in every zombies game, but you know, like if a zombie's stuck outside the map, or you're trying to look for that last zombie, you've been struggling to find it for ages, the minimap's there to help you. So like stuff like that is fine, but the minimap just itself, I just don't think it's needed in my opinion.
Yeah,
but
I think
I'll
turn that off day one.
It
Yeah,
does have its uses. I won't deny that there is some good to it.
In the blog post, they said that Pack-a-Punch is not just a damage increase all the time. Sometimes there's like unique effects, like obviously like Mustang and Sally pistols. They haven't specifically said anything it might be, but they just said Pack-a-Punch might have unique effects. So me, I'm thinking Mustang and Sally, like upgraded crossbow from BO1, ballistic knife. I'm thinking stuff like that. I hope that there is stuff like that. I feel like that's been missing for like 10 years in zombies. It's been kind of hasn't been in a game for a long time, so I'm really excited to see if there's any cool stuff like that. Save and quit is objectively good. Like there's zero issues to complain about there. And I also think that the Gobblegum system is probably, I haven't played it yet obviously, but I think that in theory it is my favorite consumable system ever. Like better than BO3 Gobblegums, better than BO4 elixirs, better than IW Fate and Fortune. You kind of have multiple options available to you, like elixirs and Fate and Fortune. You have to still get them from the machine, so there's still a bit of randomness there, and you're not always going to have your best thing ever. So you get a bit of choice, but you also don't have like god powers on quick buttons every second of the game. I think it's the perfect balance. I'm really excited to play around with that. I hope the Gobblegums are a bit more balanced than they were in BO3. I know they're bringing a lot of BO3 ones back, and I think some of them were a bit game breaking in a way I didn't like. I think that in general, I'm very excited to play around with that for sure.
But in terms for the negatives, do you have any negatives? Because I have quite a few.
Yeah, I have a few as well. Let's see, where do I want to start? Jumping off your last point, talking about attachments on weapons being, there's like weapon kits again, like BO3 and 4. I do agree that it's nice to be able to kind of pick what you want to use, but at the same time, I think the way that Cold War implemented it was interesting in at least one way, in how rarity affected attachments. So a gold gun didn't just do more damage, but it had more attachments and it could do more things. The attachments were randomized, but I do think that was interesting. It made rarity more than just a raw damage increase. It actually like affected the gun and it felt more tangible in that way. But that's not gonna ruin my life, so I'm totally fine with that. Always online I think is bad. The way I can go back and play World at War for the rest of my life as long as I have an Xbox 360, I think that's how games should be. So I'm just not excited about that. I think that's generally the popular opinion there. I already talked about space on Terminus, and salvage is another thing. Salvage is another currency I don't dislike. Like I don't mind the idea of having an alternate currency to buy different things. Like I think that's cool. The way that I really like is in Zombies in Spaceland, in Infinite Warfare, you have the tickets, and you get them by playing the carnival games and things like that, and you can buy different things than you can buy with points. I think that's super cool. I'm not opposed to the idea of having an alternate currency. It's literally, for me, just the way that it drops from zombies. It kind of encourages a different kind of play style than I like. The way I think Cold War and this game should play is you're constantly moving around the map, always moving forward, turning around to shoot a zombie and then running backwards with the Omni movement. I think it's very movement based, but the way that salvage is like a drop from zombies kind of goes against that for me, because it means you always have to go back like to where you were before. You're not moving forward, you have to keep going backwards to pick up stuff off the ground. So the way that it kind of encourages like a backwards kind of gameplay, I don't love that. I wish there was a way to earn that currency in another way. Like obviously points are the thing you get for just killing zombies, so it can't be just automatically collected, but for me that bothers me, and I don't know the solution, but maybe, I don't know. The thing I thought of that I don't know if anyone else has mentioned, but that's a weird thing that I had noticed watching the trailer and playing Cold War.
Having a different currency isn't a bad thing, especially with how, you know, there's different stuff to upgrade, but you can't just do it with points alone. I like that idea.
Yeah.
But how you earn them is, you know, going to be different. Like how Cold War's, you know, perk upgrades work in terms of getting the crystals, you know, that was a good idea because of how it worked. But for salvage, you know, I definitely think for this game it's going in the right direction. I hated the blue salvage. I just saw no point for it because sometimes there would be, you know, times where I would just never get some and I'd be like, come on, man, I need to get that fucking legendary rarity. Come on, it's 1,000 blue salvage, by the way. That shit is ass. I'm sorry, I was not a fan of that whatsoever. But whereas in this, it's all just the green salvage. So I like that idea. But in terms of how you earn it, of course, like, you know, getting from zombies and that, you having to go back and try and see if you can find some drops. I definitely agree with you on that. How you would earn it, I'm not really so sure either myself. That's a good thing to talk about. No, I agree. I agree 100%. I have no problems with that at all.
I think that armor is a wall buy. I didn't say this in my positives. I think the base idea of armor as a wall buy is good because it means it costs points. So does Pack-a-Punch. So it means you have to choose between offense and defense. I think that's cool. But of course, the armor replating, I am completely against that. I don't like that in Modern Warfare Zombies. If I don't have the golden armor like on cooldown, I probably just won't play a game that day. I always use golden armor. That's like, I don't want to say it's just because it's in Warzone so they need to have it in zombies. I feel like they don't have to do that, so I don't know what they're trying to accomplish there. I guess we'll see when the game comes out, but I just can't see a reason that that's a good thing. Like having to press the Y button like 100 times a game is just not entertaining gameplay. I think that's all I had. If you want to go ahead and I'll try and defend against your negatives. We'll see how it goes.
Okay, rarities. Get that shit out of here. Why do we still have rarities? Here's the thing, because I never thought of your point about the core rarities. The core rarities had more to them. Like that was something, like, granted I don't like random attachments coming out of the weapons that, you know, I've put attachments on. I hated that idea, but it did give rarities more of a purpose. It's a win and lose situation there, so that was something I never thought of. But with rarities in this, it is just doubling the damage, especially with Pack-a-Punch not just doubling your damage now. My question is, where the fuck is my double tap? Like, give me double tap back. You're giving us increased melee damage, you gotta give it back. Honestly, this is how I feel like they should have done. And again, oh man, I might be complimenting Vanguard way too much today. Fuck, I'm gonna get cancelled.
I'm with you. I'm so with you. I love this.
How they done rarities in Vanguard, honestly, it was fucking perfect. Like, every rarity was based off a Pack-a-Punch tier. Your blue, that's a tier 1. Your purple, that's a tier 2. And then, you know, your legendary one being the orange tier is your tier 3 pack. So why in the hell did they not do that for this? I genuinely think that would have fixed so many issues. But then, of course, it's like, but what about the rarities from the box? Get rid of rarities from the box if that's the case, so it's not super OP. It really all depended on what round you were on Vanguard. Like, of course, like, you would be getting grey weapons for like the first 10 rounds, so it'd be more blue, then it'd be more purple, then it'd be more orange. You know, it depended on the round you were on. You know, take the rarity side of things out of the box in Black Ops 6 and make it so the rarities are getting boosted each time you Pack-a-Punch. Give us a blue rarity, you know, give us a blue rarity when you Pack-a-Punch for the first time. Give us a purple rarity the second time you pack, and then give us that epic legendary rarity the third time you pack. Max Pack-a-Punch. So it's giving us double the damage along with, you know, the different effects like you mentioned. Now, of course, you can say that's like BO4. BO4, on how you get double tap in that game, it's not based on the perk, it's based on you need to pack your punch or weapon 4 times to give it max damage. That sucked. But with how rarities work, you know, I always felt like in Cold War and in Vanguard, you never always needed max damage. I feel like I was right. Of course, like, if you're going to high rounds, that's a completely different story. But when it comes to, like, you know, Easter eggs and stuff, most of the time, I would just be rocking, like, maybe like a blue. Like, granted, like, I'm always getting purple rarities now because of the super Easter egg, but then, of course, like, you're always rocking the wonder weapons. Like, in D Machine, I'm always using the die. Firebase C, I'm always using the AK. And of course, in Maradone, I was using the Cerberus, and then in Forsaken, I'm using the Axe. You're most likely going to be using the wonder weapon because, you know, it makes the boss fight more fun, more cool, more epic. Along with that, it saves you. But having that extra weapon with you would be so cool. So honestly, Vanguard, in terms of the rarity system, done it the best. I'm sorry, I don't know what to tell you. AET's not being a part of Pack-a-Punch. This is actually going into another negative I have. The Arsenal. But I don't like how it's a part. Like, the AETs are something different now. Like the designs of them look cool. Like they're like special like ammo packs, you know. Like I think that's cool. In terms of gameplay, I don't really like that at all. I really don't. Like I wish it was still a power pack punch, but then of course you would get the in-game menu. But then it's like I wish somehow they made it where the AATs were still a power pack punch. This would actually fix it. This is honestly the best solution. If I were to add AATs within the pack punch system of Black Ops 6, no in-game menu here. Hold square to, you know, just upgrade your tier. Hold down the triangle button to get yourself a random AAT. No in-game menu. That's how I would do it personally.
My very weak defense of rarity. I don't like the rarity system, but I think that it's a result of something else. I think it's because they allow loadouts that you're spawning in with a specific weapon, and they need a way to specify that the weapon that you spawn in with is objectively worse than a wall weapon to try and get you to hit the box or buy something off a wall. The fact that your gray gun is just objectively weaker than the same gun out of the box is their way to do that. The thing is, I don't like the loadout system, and the rarity system is because of that system. So, but they're doing the rarity system, they're doing the loadout system, and we can't change that anymore. That's just the way it's going to be. So I'm accepting that, and so at the same time I'm like, okay, then I understand why rarity exists. But again, I don't like it, and I'm not defending it wholesale. I just think that it has a design purpose to exist. Yeah,
it's sad because the arsenal really looks cool. It's sad because when I looked at the arsenal, I was like, whatever the fuck that is looks cool, and then when I figured out what it was, I was like, I felt really sad because it looked actually really cool. And then my last one, the Wonder Fizz from Cold War, is still the same. I fucking hate how it works. It should not be called the Wonder Fizz. The Wonder Fizz is wondering what you're getting from it. The equivalent of the mystery box for perks. I hate how it's called Wonder Fizz. I've said this in every stream. I've said this in every video. It should not be called fucking Wonder Fizz. The fact that it's still called Wonder Fizz just makes me want to throw my chair. Now we get to the community points of positives and negatives. WhiteCliff and me have some positive and negatives from you guys that commented on my tweet a couple days back. I got one from Xbox. This is short and sweet. The GOAT is back. It's just a picture of Raptor 1.
Raptor 1, okay, fair enough.
Yeah, Raptor 1's back. Are you all happy? We don't get fucking fanged from Modern Warfare Zombies.
Insane Gamer, he says that I love that there will be a hardcore and casual map at launch, and tougher to solve main Easter eggs with guided Easter eggs released mid-season. Both of those things will allow for more players to experience more without taking away from the dedicated player's experience. 100%. I agree with all of this. I think that as much as I don't love the idea of like a camo grinding map, a map just being like purely for camo grinding, because I want a map to be good. I want people to play the map because they enjoy playing zombies.
Like, you want it just to be a zombies map. Like, it shouldn't just be, oh yeah, no, it's good for camo grinding. No, that's that's like a bad compliment.
I almost don't like the idea of camo grinding at all. Like, I know that that's a huge segment of the community, and like I'm grinding camos on Modern Warfare Zombies, but I want people to play the game because it's fun, not because they want to get a certain thing. Imagine a player who wants to grind camos, and so they try Liberty Falls, and then they're grinding camos, and they realize, wait a second, I'm grinding camos right now, but I'm also having fun. Maybe I like zombies. If Liberty Falls is an on-ramp to zombies in that way, and it's not just like
you're liking
purely a camo grinding map, but it's like it gets people playing because it's an easy camo grind, but then they're like, they start playing Terminus, which isn't as good for camo grind, but just because they enjoy zombies, like it teaches them how to like zombies. I think that that's the best thing that could possibly happen for the community, so I'm glad that that exists. And guided Easter eggs, I think, are like the best thing we've gotten in zombies.
It's such a good step in the right direction,
like,
and specifically for Easter eggs, because I know like Cold War, it held your hand with a lot of stuff. Like Vanguard, there were like some things where it like held your hand in, but like I'm talking Archon and Shinonuma Reborn here. There were actually stuff that you had to solve on your own. Like, and some steps were, most of them were easy, but you know, some were like had a bit of a challenge. I'm talking like the Archon here, where like, you know, the Simon Says step, for example, you have to like stand on the floor depending on the symbols that you first saw in order, and then each one afterwards you had like a challenge, like if you move around you're taking damage, or you can only kill zombies with pistols, stuff like that. Like I thought that was really, really cool. We got one from Marla. He says, positive, this is the first time I've been genuinely interested in the Dark Aether story, and I'm excited to learn what's next. The negatives I have is I'm hoping that the Warzone feel, mainly a HUD problem, does not influence the gameplay in such a major way that gets in the way of my enjoyment. The one thing I'll say about the Warzone feel, the HUD, I 100% agree with. The one thing that is really just Warzone-esque is that you need to manually apply your armor plates. That needs to
Yeah.
go. But aside from that, there's not really much Warzone-esque type feels, unless you want to talk about Liberty Falls. But even then, I don't really think it has a Warzone feel. It just doesn't, 100% feel like zombies compared to that of Terminus. As for the positives, the Dark Ether story is going in a good step in the right direction, because I don't know where it's going to go at this point, because of course, like, it started off, quite hype, it was a continuation of the Ether story. So like Cold War, I'd say it was okay. Vanguard, the only thing interesting about the Vanguard story is 1, the Chaos Radio, 2, the demons, in terms of learning like the specialist abilities. Like I thought the demon side of things were really, really cool. With Modern Warfare Zombies, it was cool. We saw Ravenoff again. I will say the Dark Ether story and Modern Warfare Zombies, it was whatever for the first 2 missions, and then the 3rd mission it's like, oh shit, Jansen's related to the Dark Ether, and then she has like a sister in the Dark Ether. I really hope that Jansen goes back in time and we see her in Liberty Falls, and then we're changing the timeline where we can save Weaver, we can save Grey, all that stuff. I just hope that that's what happens, because if it's not, we already technically know what happens. They try to go back to save Sam, but what if they go back to try and save Sam now with Jansen, because Jansen also has Dark Ether powers. They're going in trying to save Sam without no Dark Ether ability. So now if Jansen goes back in time, and goes in to help them with someone with Dark Ether abilities, well, if they save Sam, I don't know, I just think that would be quite cool in my opinion. But if they don't do that, I definitely think that this Dark Ether zombie story would be throwing, in my opinion.
I think that I agree that Dark Ether lore is starting to interest me more than it did during Cold War.
Right.
One of the things I noticed in Liberty Falls is we have a Mr. Peaks neon sign. We have Aetherella as like a character that people know about in the real world. So I'm wondering, like, is that because of Liberty Falls' connection to the Dark Ether? Like, is the Dark Ether seeping out, or do people know about the Ether in like the general population? Do they know what the Ether is? So I'm excited to see how it goes, because I think that this could be a really interesting direction for the story to take if it's starting to like corrupt the real world. The next tweet is from It's Tragic, and he says, positive is old systems returning with a new twist, and negative looks like Cold War. Positive, like the old systems, I assume mostly referring to Gobblegums, which we've already talked about. I think we both think they're looking good as a new implementation, and the new twist on top of them looks good. Saying it looks like Cold War is a negative, I understand why people say that and why they don't like it. And if you don't like that style of gameplay, that's not going to change with Black Ops 6. I think it is very much Cold War 2. If you can, I think this will be a better execution. Like Cold War had a very rushed development, and it didn't get a lot of things right that it wanted to. I think this is going to be a game that's like Cold War, the way that Treyarch actually wants to make it. Even if you didn't like Cold War, if you have the opportunity, like if you have Game Pass or something, I would give this game a chance to see if you like the new systems and the new gameplay style when it's actually done perfectly. It's more that action hero, dynamic, omni movement, like really active gameplay where you're using specialists all the time, you're doing all kinds of stuff that feels very dynamic. So I think that looking like Cold War isn't a bad thing if they've had the time to really put some time into it and make the game they really wanted to make in that style.
But I don't know whether to consider this a negative or not, but it sounds like it. But this one's from Lucara, and he says, the community is going to continue to argue about the point system and the loadout versus the storm pistol. I also guarantee there will be weaponized data regarding this normal versus classic mode. More will still play normal over classic due to the camo level grade, thinking people prefer it more. I agree with the whole normal over classic mode thing, but yet again, classic mode's not being confirmed to happen. If they do add that though, that would be very cool. The whole thing with the point system, that's something I can discuss for another day, because like I understand like as to the reason why this new point system is, like everyone's blaming Kevin Drew's little brother here for getting picked on in a public lobby. Like that was just an example that you like, I doubt as a game developer that wasn't his only decision. But then it's like the whole reason for the point system, in my mind, it's because of the loadout system. You can spawn in with any weapon of your choice. See, if we started off with a storm pistol, I guarantee you we'd probably get the old point system back, or an equivalent to Black Ops 4's, even though that wasn't even the best point system either. But with how the point system works within Cold War, it's probably because of the loadouts. Like you can spawn with an M16 and stuff. That's probably why. Get rid of the loadouts, and I'm pretty sure the point system would definitely be changed to how it once was.
Kind of do disagree. So I've been working on a Black Ops 4 retrospective, which is when they first changed the point system. And I talked for probably 15-20 minutes about points because I have a lot of thoughts. I'll try and condense that now. I think that point system is not I don't think that's really due to the loadout, because it was changed in BO4, which had kind of loadouts, but it was basically just pistols and like basic like weak shotguns. Like it wasn't a loadout system. It was, I think the point system is more, they realized that the game wasn't incentivizing killing zombies. It was incentivizing wasting bullets. The more bullets you used, you got more points, which meant that you wanted to use the weakest guns possible and make the rounds take forever instead of just actually killing zombies. And the game is about killing zombies, so they wanted people to be rewarded for killing zombies and not how they killed the zombies. I do have a nostalgia for, like, I started with World at War. I played Black Ops 1 for like probably 3 months of game time. Like, I have hours and hours and hours in those games. I think that the point system, if I really sat down and thought about it from a game designer perspective, I think this is probably the right direction to move. Not perfect, but the right direction instead of just getting infinite points out of a zombie, because it lets you, like, before you were punished for using a shotgun. People say, like, you get to use more weapons, right? Like, even weak guns have a point in the old system, but that's not necessarily true. It just means that you only use SMGs, ARs, and LMGs. Like, shotguns and snipers and launchers are just a meme. Like, you're not going to use them. I think that this new system, it does flatten the pool a bit, and like that is a very valid criticism to make, that like one weapon isn't necessarily better than the other. At least you can use a shotgun and not feel like you're having a worse experience than everyone else. It lets you choose what to use a bit better. There are still better options, but it's a bit more of a flat curve. I personally disagree, but I completely understand why people want the old point system. I just think that, like, they want rounds to be fast. Again, we're talking about Cold War, which wants you to be an action hero. You want to progress the rounds fast, and like shooting zombies 4 times and then knifing, that makes the rounds take as long as possible. So that's not necessarily fun for the kind of audience they're trying to gather. So yeah, I do see both sides, but as a BO4 lover, I'm kind of in favor of the point system change. That's where I stand. So my next one is from Terrible Tony, who says, negative is the lighting is so bad, man. Liberty Balls looks bad. And positive is round-based is back. Yay. I think we...
You're as beautiful as the day I lost you.
The art direction of Liberty Falls, I think we agreed that there are some areas that don't look so good, but like you said, like indoor areas look good.
They all look good in my opinion. Just the outdoors is some stuff needs to be changed. Like even adding in like some little dark ether crystals would just make it look nice.
And I wonder if like they might even be changing that. I'm not trying to get my hopes up. Like I'm not expecting a classic mode. I'm not expecting any of these leaks to come out because I don't want to get my expectations up and then have my expectations broken. I want to just take what they've told us at face value and then expect for the best. But one of the things I am hoping for is maybe they can, like, it seems pretty doable to add some color to some of the outside of the buildings in Liberty Falls. Like, it seems possible they might do that, because I do agree that as a whole, as a map, like looking at it from the top down, it doesn't look like the best zombies map, but I'm excited to get into it, and maybe when we get into it we'll start going through those indoor spaces and we'll feel that we'll feel different than we do just watching gameplay. The last tweet here is from Melly, who says, it looks like Cold War and feels copied and pasted. For zombies it's looking lifeless. The idea of armor plates and weapon loadouts already at round 1 kind of sucks. Gameplay so far looks repetitive, easy to play, nothing like the trailers. HUD screen could look better. I think this is a big bullet point list. I think we pretty much do agree with most of this. Like we talked about,
this is very 50-50
armor.
for me.
Yeah.
The whole thing with it feeling like Cold War, I don't care that it feels. It looks like Cold War. I don't care that it looks like Cold War. Cold War genuinely had some stuff that looked nice. Look at the Dark Ether D machine and tell me that shit looks bad. You can't. That shit looks beautiful. Granted, like if you're talking about like how the maps look, like Maratone looks nice, and granted Forsaken as it is a campaign map, that also looks nice. D machine and Firebase, compared to those two maps, it's not very vibrant. It's just very bright, I'd say. But of course you have the Dark Ether area and D machine. That's the one thing I'd give D machine. I don't really mind that it looks like Cold War as long as it's funny. At the end of the day, I really don't care. And for zombies looking lifeless, Terminus, I'm gonna have to disagree. I'm really sorry. Liberty Falls, I'm really 50-50 on that. It's really just the inside areas that feel like zombie areas, with it nothing looking like the trailers. I mean, Liberty Falls looks exactly like it is in the trailers. And then Terminus looks fine.
I agree that, like, I understand Melly having this opinion on all of these things, but I think there are definitely, like, we haven't seen enough to be 100% convinced that, like, they're all true. Like, we don't know, like, yeah, everything you said. I think that we have to get the game in our hands to see some of this stuff, so I'm still optimistic. And the fact that it looks like Cold War, just copied and pasted from Cold War, like you said earlier, like, they were very honest about that. Like, this is their attempt to do Cold War again, but the way they actually want to do it, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with a more dynamic, fast-paced, the kind of game they wanted wanted to make with Cold War, I'm okay with that as a new style, understanding that I can still go back and play the old games if I want. If they want to do this, I want to see them do it right, so I'm excited to see what their vision really is, for sure.
And now on to the last topic of the video here is, do we think Black Ops 6 will succeed? Now, I actually wrote down a chart here on what games I think Black Ops 6 will be better than. I think Black Ops 6 will 100% be better than World at War. I think it will be better than Exo Zombies, better than Extinction. I think it will be better than World War 2. Now that we're going into just zombies unique-esque feel maps, I think it will be better than BO4. It will be definitely better than Cold War, and I think it will be definitely better than Vanguard and Modern Warfare Zombies. I don't think it will be better than BO1. I don't think it will be better than BO2. I don't think it will be better than BO3, and I don't think it will be better than Infinite Warfare.
I think this game is going to be a straight upgrade from Cold War. Objectively better than Cold War. Everything that Cold War does, this game is going to do better, so I think that is an easy thing to say. I think that Black Ops 6 will be a success in a lot of ways. Objectively, I think it's going to have a huge amount of casual players playing it. I think that this game has a lot of momentum going into it. I think people are excited to try it out. The very casual audiences, like you could see people that were even in multiplayer chats where like the Warzone guys, like even people who were in their chats were excited to see zombies. So I think that this game has a lot of momentum going into it, and I think if there's a good on-ramp from Liberty Falls into Terminus into DLC 1, I think that this game has the potential to be maybe not my favorite, but definitely like the most widely popular. I think old fans, like classic fans, will still enjoy this, and I think it's going to bring on a lot of new people who didn't get fully on board with Cold War but will get on with this. And I think it's good to, like, people are mad about the casualification of zombies, the warzoneification. I get that. I do love how obscure and cryptic the early zombies was, but if zombies is going to survive, people need to play it. It's the best thing for the health of the mode, and like I said, if they can have a casual based map early and then get kind of dip their toes back into that more cryptic stuff later in the DLC season, I think that this could really be like a fantastic breath of fresh air into the zombies DNA.
What are we saying, W or L for Black Ops 6? I say W's all the way, chat.
Controversially, I say W's as well.
But I am going to end the video here. WhiteCliff, I'd like to thank you for coming on, good sir. It was definitely a good chat. I liked, your perspective on things. It's definitely made me thought about, a lot of different things on the mode going forward. So, and this is what I like to see, don't fucking hate on bitches, man. To understand that, that's how they see it. It could be a good thing to see people's perspectives, because I like seeing people's different perspectives on things. That alone can impact the mode. And even if you disagree, try to understand as to why they feel that way. But aside from that, any last words for today, Mr. WhiteCliff?
This was a really fun conversation.
It was.
I think we got a lot of good stuff. We didn't agree on everything, but I think we learned a lot, both of us. So yeah, I think that I'm excited for BO6, and I'm glad that we kind of had the opportunity to talk about this. Yeah, thank you for having me on.
No problem, man, no problem. I'll obviously leave WhiteCliff's links in the description below to his YouTube and all his other stuff, so please do go check him out. But aside from that, thank you all so much for watching. If you all did enjoy, please subscribe. Leave a like, click notification bell, always to the channel. We hope you all have a great rest of your day, and let us know what you guys think about Black Ops 6 Zombies in the comment section down below. But guys, thank you all so much for watching, and we will see you all in the next video live stream. And goodbye!